So welcome to the OPIT EDGE. I'm your host Levi, and finally we got started with our first episode. In today's episode we're gonna have Matteo Zangani. I had the chance to meet Zangani about 2 years ago, and Matteo Zangani is a senior manager in Flutter SEA, which is responsible for all those AI initiatives. So in today's episode we're gonna talk about very interesting things regarding AI, career, leadership, and also interview. If you are interested about any of those topics, please hang out till the end, and I'm very sure that you're gonna enjoy this episode. Hello Matteo, how are you?
All good, thanks. How about you?
So far so good. So we are really happy and grateful to have you here in our first episode. So for the people that doesn't know you, who are you and what you do?
Well, that's the most difficult question that you can ask. So, thanks for accepting me here. And I'm Matteo Zangani. I'm a data science senior manager in Flutter, Southern Europe and Africa. And I'm the CEO and founder of Alpha Quantaris, which is a startup, innovative startup, which is working with quantum and AI to build quantum AI fusion.
Okay, super nice. So let's go straight to the point. So how your adventure with data science and AI began?
Well, it started a long time ago,
Okay.
even before graduation. And at the time, we didn't even call it AI. So it was just data. And it started with the oil and gas business. And I was working worldwide for the geophysical exploration, doing geophysical analysis of real-time and near real-time data and building subsurface models, basically. And the job evolved pretty rapidly. The amount of data increased. Then we started to talk about big data at the time. And then we landed into the season of AI, and now is generative AI. So I transitioned myself from the oil and gas business into automotive for a while with Stellantis. And now I'm in this adventure with Alpha Quantaris and with Flutter Southern Europe and Africa in the gambling business and R&D with Alpha Quantaris.
Oh, super nice. So we're gonna have time to talk about all these transition project and role that you've been having. But right now I want to ask you already. So what is exactly your startup about?
Well, my startup is about, finding innovative solution with the emerging technology, in particular the deep tech of the quantum computing. What we believe into something different because we are expecting the algorithms to evolve, not just evolving by power, but evolving in complexity and a different paradigm. And the paradigm of quantum computing is fundamentally different way of thinking and different way of analyzing the data. And we see, and I see a lot of potential into this because we want to see problems from a different perspective. So to change things, you're not just going to use a more powerful machine, but a different paradigm. And this is what we are aiming. Making, for example, quantum computing with the AI, creating a fusion engine that is going to power and unlock more opportunities.
Okay, but for somebody that is not technical, so what is quantum computing? Because not everybody knows what is quantum computing.
Well, quantum computing is a series of algorithms and hardware, so it's not just one thing, is a complex scenario that is going to evolve in the future to where we have a new style of computer, new type of computer, and new paradigm of algorithms. And these new computers, they think differently because they use the quantum mechanics paradigm.
Okay.
And this new paradigm will unlock different way of looking at things. We are not living anymore in a digital world where we have zeros and ones, but we have 0 and 1 at the same time.
Yes.
So that can unlock a lot of scenarios and working with continuum rather than digital expression of data.
So you think that this new technology will unlock many opportunities in the future, or is already doing it?
Is already doing it in many fields. Of course, it's still in the explorational phase. In some areas, like for example, like optimization problems, there are already a lot of breakthroughs. But for other areas, for example, with the quantum gating computers, which is the universal computer, is unlocking new opportunities for the AI because you can really use the same algorithm as you are using today with the AI into the paradigm of quantum computing.
I see. I mean, nowadays I always see this word AI, and I always see this word with AI strategy, company strategy, and so on. And I was wondering, I mean, what is AI strategy, and what is that a company right now should use AI for? Because it's very confusing, and you being with Caesar and SEA, as you say, Flutter SEA, and with your own company, I guess that you've been doing a lot of strategy. So can you just share with us what is our AI strategy about?
Well, the AI strategy is about creating a mindset and a goal, business goal, and then define the roadmap to achieve those goals.
Okay.
So that's basically what it is in few words. But in practice, when to unlock it, it's the problem. Because when are you going to unlock the strategy? Because if you do it too early, you don't have a business problem very clear. If you do it too late, you're already into the technology and you are not evolving your strategy. So when is the right time? I don't have an exact answer on this, but I think when your company or your team or your business model start to leverage AI, immediately after the proof of concept and you start to industrialize the algorithms, that's the moment you need to start to think about strategy. Because if you do it too early, you might not have a clear picture of what you want to develop. But if you start too late, you're already behind the curve. And if you are behind the curve, you are missing the point of following the technology and achieving your business goals.
Okay. Can you give us maybe some example of strategy that you implemented in the last year, or right now you're implementing with your business and with the company you're working for?
Well, I don't say I can say that.
You cannot?
No, this one, no, because I have to speak about Flutter.
Okay, fair enough. So let's transition to another topic always relevant to this AI argument, we say. So what are some how do you say the word, misconception that people have about this technology? Because some people say that it's going to take all the job. Other people say that this technology is useless. Other people say that this is a very big technology that's going to change everything. So what is your take on it?
Well, I would abstract a little bit this topic from the AI.
Okay.
Because during 1800, if we go back 2 centuries, more than 90% of the people work in agriculture. And now it's less than 2%, but we still have a lot of jobs. So we need to embrace transformation and be open. I don't think AI is going to replace anyone's work, and I don't think it's a hype at the same time. It's a transformation period. Maybe we accelerate compared to the past because we have more tools, more technology available, but it's a transformation period. So what I expect is that the people embrace the transformation, not only because I work in this field, but anyone works in this field. Anyone use AI tools, even when they don't know. So we need to embrace this and move forward and look for something else, because all the automation that we use and all the AI that we use is there for a reason, to make better job and make better results. So we should free our time and use this time to do better things. So to be, what we are human, right? So we have reason, we are very creative. So we should focus on the creativity, we should focus on our own skills and let the machine do the job faster for us that we need, keeping an eye on it, but we should use this time for something better.
And why do you think people have difficulties to embrace this new technology?
Because they are afraid of a change. Never underestimate, the power of resistance. That has always been the case. So if we look back in the industry, there are a lot of examples of this change is very reluctant. Let's look at these days about the change of electrical cars compared to the standard cars. It's obvious some benefit. There's also obvious some concern about using new technology. But we need to be open and accept things and embrace things. That's the main thing that I can suggest.
Okay, I see. Because I've been seeing, as I said before, people talking about AI is going to automate everything. So, but do you really think that this technology is going to eventually automate some part of people's job, or is going to just take over other side that are not are not relevant or won't be affected by people tax?
I think we are too afraid of letting these technologies take care of something that is actually boring for us, like a repetitive task, automation task. So why should you worry of taking this boring stuff when you can do more stuff on your own with your creativity? So I think that the people are afraid for a reason, but mainly they are afraid of themselves because they don't want to accept the change.
Okay, so you think that they don't want to skill up or learn this new technology because it's new, it's difficult, or what?
Probably because people are not exposed in the right way to the technology. Because when you get the people exposed in the right way with the technology, we have it every day in our pocket, the smartphones, the iPhones, tablets. When you get exposed in the right way, you embrace the technology, you use technology. Look how many things we can do these days with the smartphone. When I was young, there was no smartphone.
Yes.
But nowadays, everyone has a smartphone, and we don't even know how it works, most of us. So the fact is that technology in particular was given to the people in a way that the people, they can use it without feeling overwhelmed with the technology itself. And this is the key. So when we produce a tool, we need to make sure that when we produce something, even with the AI, generative AI, all the technology that we want to expose, at the beginning it's hard because it's R&D technology. But once we become like a everyday's job, we need to make it more transparent of what we do and let the people be part of that project from the beginning. Because if you're part of that project from the beginning, I'm talking specifically some technological projects within a company, if you embrace the business people, if you embrace the client from the beginning, they are part of the project and they will not be afraid to use it because they are part of the project. They don't just use a black box, but they build the project with you.
Yeah. But I still feel or think that you're talking like this. I mean, somebody could say you're talking like this because you are an expert in the field. So for you, this technology is super easy and fluent. But for somebody that, let's say, a typical Mario Rossi that is 40, let's say, or 35, that is not very close to technology, how do you think this person could start to learn this new technology of AI so that it can leverage technology, it doesn't let this technology take over, maybe?
Well, I think the main thing is to understand what the technology is really, ground level.
So can you tell us what is AI?
Well, AI is divided in two main branches, I would say. So we have these days the classical AI, let's call it machine learning, which is quantitative analytics. So given a set of numbers, it's going to learn from these numbers and give you an outcome. And there is generative AI, which is fundamentally a productivity tool, which is pre-trained models that they generate an output. Well, everyone knows ChatGPT, which is the pre-trained model to generate tokens, words, basically. So fundamentally, this is a statistical machine which is going to predict an output. So if we are not afraid of what we are handling, it's easier, but we need to go to the ground level. So what is AI? AI is just an algorithm which is learning from data. It's no magic.
Okay.
So based on the input that we give, we expect an output. So people should trust it. Why? It looks like a black box. Yes, it is like a black box sometimes, but it depends on the knowledge base that we give. So it is very important to understand that the reaction of these models is driven by what we feed to the model or what was the data that trained the model up front. So there is no magic in that. So it's trained on our own knowledge, because when you look at an LLM is trained based on books. It's based on data that we have access to. So why should we be afraid of a big dictionary that is there and is available for us? We just need to use it carefully.
But how do you think this Mario Rossi should start to interact with those new products?
I think it should be no fear,
Okay.
like no prejudice, and start to use it and make the best out of it, even if it's causing some problems sometimes, maybe some headaches, because you're going to make mistakes and it's going to create hallucination, it's going to create bad things sometimes, but there are built-in guardrails already in these models, so they prevent this. They are smart enough. But the standard Mario Rossi should experiment. the only way to get familiar and trust is to use it.
Try.
So try it. That's my advice. Try it because it's going to change your day.
Okay, and in your daily life, maybe you can also share with us in your working life, in your daily life, what are the apps or tools you use that have AI that you think, are useful for you, and maybe can also be useful to the people that are watching this podcast?
Okay, so the main one, because of my job, is usually the GitHub Copilot, so which is helping us to code. So the main ones are like GitHub Copilot, which has the availability of pre-trained models like Gemini, Anthropic, and OpenAI models in the background. And these are the main ones that I use. I don't use much of anything else, but other tools that are very powerful these days are like, for example, the toolkit that you can have, for example, in Canvas, or like Microsoft Copilot 365, which they can help you on your productivity outside the IT scope.
And can you guys, because you know how those tools work, but can you just give us a deeper view of how those wrapper work, so that you can be more specific on whatever need you need on that specific app? For example, with Canva, you say that you can use AI with Canva. So how this work?
Well, we don't see it because it's wrapped around. So in the background, there is a large language model which is going to be called, and is going to structure a prompt, and is going to probably interrogate some knowledge base that is in the background with all the styles that you can have in Canva, all the fonts and all the already projects created, and then it's going to translate it into a direct answer for you, which is going to suggest maybe the best fit for your work. When you create a new presentation, let's say with Canva, or maybe let's say an image or whatever it's going to be, when you prompt it, it's going to call the knowledge base, and it's going to help you with the public projects that are already built in. So it's going to guide you through the solution, and it's going to help you to find maybe mistakes or maybe some pitfalls that you are causing. For example, in a presentation outside, we talk about the outside the IT scope. Let's talk about Canva as we discussed. When you look at the presentation, you might not see a visual problem on your presentation, and then you can ask, can you solve any issue that you can see? And then it's going to scan it in the background with the previous experience, and it's going to help you to find something that you probably don't even notice.
So, but this is not hype. This is something that you've been using, and you think it's going to really change the way people interact and just go to work in the future.
Well, the word hype is a little particular for me. I have a strange relationship with this word, because I've been surfing the hype all my career. You know, every year there is a different hype, and I was surfing that. So calling hype, yes, it is a good term. Sometimes there is a hype. Sometimes it's not an hype. Why am I saying this? Because fundamentally, you know, the hype is the driver of the technology moving forward, which is going to create interest from outside. When it's going to turn into a toxic hype is when you expect too much, or you are building something that does not exist around this hype. So far, there was a lot of hype in generative AI, recently, but beyond the hype of the first few months that everyone will say, this is just a bubble, right? And now everyone is using generative AI. So what is real hype and what is not real hype? It's very hard to separate. I think the hype, it is genetically embedded in the transformation.
Okay. And I have to say that you are maybe lucky, but they say that people that are lucky are people that get ready and were able to spot the opportunity on the right time. You having, let's say, the hottest job in the industry, because I remember reading a few years ago, I think in 2020, saying that data scientist was the hottest job in the industry. But right now we can really say that in 2025, AI engineer, which is also a branch of data science, it is the hottest job in the industry. So what is your take? And do you think that you are really doing the hottest thing right now available in the industry or not?
Well, I would say that the old data scientists these days are called AI engineers. It's just a transformation. So it's a mindset. So people that they embrace transformation and innovation are moving forward, and they are just changing their title. When I started, I wasn't calling myself data scientist. I was calling myself something else. So it's the power to change that is gonna define you what you are at that moment. But it's not just a job title. When you ask, it is the sexiest job, the hottest job in the century, I would say in some kind of way, yes, compared to other IT jobs. But there are so many professional people around the AI, not just the people that they create AI algorithms, but there are AI solution manager, AI product manager. There are AI ethics positions these days. So there is a lot of professional figures around the AI, which is not the only job which is interesting, coding the algorithm. There is a lot of positions around that are very, very interesting.
Mm-mm. And how do you think that somebody that just getting started, maybe is going to school, or maybe somebody that want to reinvent himself and want to get into this field, what are the skills that he should try to learn to eventually transition into a AI role, which can be, as you say, an engineer or AI product owner, manager, or anything that is AI related?
Well, there are soft skills and tech skills that we need to take into account. If we talk about the tech skills, well, you need to start to embrace Python, Python knowledge, because it's the most common language to write AI code these days. Don't believe that the generative AI is going to substitute the entire coding for the moment, but it's going to come one day. But for the moment, we still need to understand deeply what is written in the code. But the most important part is the curiosity. So it's a soft skill, curiosity and teamwork. Because what I truly believe in my entire career is a sentence that I was reading when I was working in Norway in an oil field. And there was this giant, sentence written on top when you enter the gate to work that was, no one of us is smarter than all of us. So believing in team and being curious and accept criticism, these are the most important things, because technology evolves. You can be an expert today, tomorrow, the technology you are an expert is already gone. So don't bother too much to be super expert into something, but be curious and learn something new every day. So this is gonna keep you ahead of the curve, and that's the most important thing, I would say, curiosity and working teams.
I see. I really get this point of the soft skill and let's say hard skill, but could you just go a bit more in detail regarding the hard skill needed for example, somebody applying and in your team as an AI engineer? Because you say Python, but we know that having Python is not enough. So could you just give us a better overview of the skills needed to eventually apply for something similar in that field?
Yeah. So there are many roles in AI. So not all the roles are the same. So we call them AI engineer, data scientists, ML engineers, ML ops. There are very, very different roles because the technology is expanding. Also the business is expanding. So therefore also the roles are differentiating. There are roles that are very strict with the technology. For example, like machine learning engineers, where you have on top of the Python knowledge, you need to have, for example, Spark, PySpark, and all the libraries for the big data. So you need to have an understanding of HPC computing. That's critical. That you can build it through your career. You don't need to have it from the beginning, but it is something that you need to scale up very quickly. There are roles like, for example, data science that you need to add on top all the statistical part. Then you need to be very strong in math and statistics, because we expect you to analyze business problem more in depth. And also there is the generative AI, which is a different animal, I would say. So we consider AI, but in fact, they are more like software engineering roles. And this is critical to understand because they are working with pre-trained models and pre-trained systems. So they are, as you say before, they are like wrapper around systems. But that's very critical to understand because they create productivity tools. So it's like a software engineering role wrapped around the AI. So that's a different type of skills. And in that case, you need to have a better understanding also on how the entire IT workflow is running. So like, for example, like security levels, apps, and cloud systems. So you need to have a more understanding of the architecture compared to the ML engineering and data science roles.
So what do you think will be a ideal path that somebody should take in order to become, let's say, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, somebody that could potentially apply for those kind of role?
Well, when we look for people, if we need to go straight, we look for some kind of experience on top of the soft skills.
Industry experience.
Not only industry experience, could be also something more like show me some projects.
Okay.
Because if you remember in the past, there were a lot of hype around having a Git repo filled with projects. And this is something I'm looking for, because if I see that you are very active in building something, I'm curious and I'm going to look myself what you have been built. And I'm not really too specific if you built this with the ChatGPT or not, but I want to see curiosity and building things on your own, because the curiosity, is going to translate into something which is practical. And this is the key for me. So I want to see that you build something, not just be part of a team that builds something. I want you to see where your curiosity bring you to.
Can you give us an example of a project or maybe a candidate that stood out in a specific way that eventually you knew that, okay, this is the best guy that you think could perform well on this job? For example, let's say somebody, maybe you had different candidates for one position. Some candidates were very good technically, but you see that somebody maybe wasn't as good technical, but was very good maybe on some project that was building on the side, or maybe some soft skill that was very good at. You decide, okay, this person is the right one for the job, and eventually your intuition was right, because that person was really good for that position.
Yes, so this is one of the main questions that I do during my interviews. So we go with all the technical questions, we talk about the teamwork, we do all the tricks for the teamwork, but the most complicated question that I make during the interviews is, what's your biggest disaster? And is there where I judge the candidate, because if you are open to discuss about your biggest mistake, and you're open to discuss your biggest mistake freely, you're the guy. Because everyone is good in talking about how good I have developed this model, but no one is good to discuss about their failures. And this is the key when you are working with people and technically, because when you build data science, you cannot expect this like a fried egg and all the donuts are coming out with a hole in the middle. You're gonna have failures, a lot of failures, a lot of pitfalls, and you need to be open to discuss that. And this is the key for me.
And talking about failure, what do you think are some failure that you had maybe during your career that were a big learning opportunity for you?
Well, the one that comes to my mind every time is the do not multitask.
Okay.
That's the biggest one that I remember, because it cost me one night at work. And I remember I was jumping between one system and the other. I was working with Linux and Windows machines at the same time. And you move from single click to double click from one machine to the other, and jumping from one to the other, my brain didn't switch. And then I did the double click on Linux and I overwrite an entire library. So I had to rebuild the entire library overnight. And that was not cool. So that taught me, okay, if you want to do something, take your time, do one thing at a time.
And what is, let's say, I'm very curious, what is the worst advice you were given and the best advice you were given in your career?
Okay, the worst advice is no advice. So I think I had many, because some people, they didn't care about your career, and I feel that any advice is better than nothing, because you can feel inside that someone cares. And if someone cares, it means that it wants to transmit something to you and move forward. So there is no bad advice. It's just no advice is the bad one. The best career advice, I wouldn't call it advice. I had an opportunity in the past. I'm talking about 20 years ago. And my first boss, I was working for him, and I had a great opportunity to move elsewhere. And I went to him and I asked him, Can we have a chat because I have a great opportunity to move abroad into a large corporation? So we had a chat, and the first thing that he told me was, go there and be our ambassador. Whenever you want to come back, you can come back anytime. But be our ambassador there. Go there, be the best, and represent us. And that opened my mind, the way that I'm thinking as a manager these days. And because that changed everything. It's like we are not in competition. You are here representing us. You go there and you represent us. And you bring something that you are here today over there. And this will be the biggest pride for us. And this changed everything, my point of view. So this is something that I say to my team every time, if you have to go, you have to go because, opportunities are everywhere. But bring the good stuff that you're learning here over there because we will be proud of you.
And I guess this is also your type of leadership, no?
Yeah, well, no one is born leader, right? Okay. So we are, learning from the others because we live by experience. And but the good leaders and the bad leaders are leaders that are taking the worst or taking the best. So I try to take the best. I hope I'm successful in that, but we'll see. At the end of the story, we'll write the book.
Of course, because the people don't know, but I was lucky enough to work in the same organization as you, and we were already talking back then, a month ago, and I was really fascinated and about your way of doing, about your philosophy, your leadership, and everything. And I also had the chance to tell you that. Can you kind of tell us what is your type of leadership, of philosophy that you use in your career and also in your startup, of course?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is make your deliberate mistake. That's the most important thing. So we learn by doing mistakes. So people need to be free to make mistakes. And as an organization, even large organization, they need to understand that making mistakes is a part of the job. It's a part of the learning curve. So we should embrace the mistake for what they are. So understanding with the proper retrospective, with the proper judgment. So we are not judging people because they are doing everything right, because no one does everything right, because it means that they are not working. So that's the most important thing for me. So making people responsible for what they are doing, but also enjoying the process of learning, which is going to end up in a mistake sometimes. Well, we are here to fix the mistakes. We are a team. That's the whole point.
Which I think that the iteration that you have with the startup and with the big companies such as Flutter can be very different. I mean, the startup, you are more agile and way faster to iterate and then try to new things, to make mistake. And on a big organization like Flutter, things can be a bit more long, tedious, and just slow to move. Can you just give us the difference between this true experience you're living and how you manage to balance both?
Well, first of all, Flutter is my main employment, so I give all the time to Flutter, and the startup is just a Sunday, experiment that I'm leading. But the approach is slightly different, because even if we are in a development team, research and development team with the AI, let's call it R&D still, even if it's business as usual, we are focused on the results. And this is the main thing, because we are building trust, we are building results, we are building business cases. So that's very important. In the startup environment, it's very different, because you're there to fail. That's my point. You need to experiment. You need to try. So my main goal is very different. In one case, I'm leading a team and I'm leading a production, while in the startup environment, you are there to experiment. And this is the entire goal of the startup. For me, it's not like an industrial environment, but is an experimentation environment, purely experimentation environment.
And what is something that the startup is teaching you that you're applying in your main job, and something that you learn in your main job that you're applying to your startup?
Well, I would say is more treating my character than learning something, because I'm applying what I've learned during my decades of career, but it's still treating my soul, because when you get out of your comfort zone every time, making mistakes, experimenting new things, is going to keep yourself sharp between the ears, and is going to keep you open outside, as I say, out of the comfort zone. So you are able to experiment something new. It means that you are embracing the new technology that we've been discussing before. Because if you get acquainted too much with the production and with the technology, you end up being static. So like this, making mistakes every day is going to help you to get out of the comfort zone.
I see. I mean, it's very insightful. And I was actually thinking, for somebody that, I mean, we talked before about the different skills that somebody must have or should have in order to get into the field. But some people say, okay, you should maybe just start by building stuff, and maybe from there bootstrap your startup, maybe, or going through the traditional route, which, working for a company, you work with smart people, you learn from them, and then as soon as you have let's say better understanding, better skill, and better domain knowledge, you can eventually build your own thing. So you think that somebody that maybe, for one job there are hundreds of candidates, so the chance that you can get the job, it can be very low sometimes. You think somebody could maybe focus on building things, or the best route is still to go within a company, learn from the best, and then eventually transition to something on your own, or maybe do both like you're doing?
I think there is not an exact way of doing things. Opportunities are everywhere. As a recruiter, sometimes I see a lot of CVs. Some CVs are within specs. Some CVs are not within specs. Some people, they just apply randomly sometimes, and you can see it. But most of the people are qualified to get the interview. Only few get selected. So the only thing I can say is never give up, because opportunities are are really behind the corner. So don't give up. And also when you do interviews, it's important. It's something that I try to stretch a little bit, because people get there, do the entire process, and then they get rejected maybe at the end, because only one can get the job. What I try to do is to get them, relaxed, because I explained that if you are here, you're not evaluated. You are already a professional in your field. What we are trying to do here is to understand if the role fits your profile. It's not about evaluating you. We already evaluated you. You are already here. So we know that you are already capable of doing the job. It's just for us to understand, and for you as well, because from the candidate point of view, if this is the right fit for both of us.
So sometimes, because, I also got rejected many times, so most of the time, the reason why I didn't get the job was simply because my persona wasn't a right fit for the job, even though I could have do the job properly.
Yes, because sometimes, there are profiles that are even overskilled compared to the job. So that's not the right fit, maybe for the moment or for the position. There are a lot of variables that they play when you are in the recruitment phase. But I would say that when you get into an interview, you are already selected. So you are already evaluated, because otherwise you wouldn't be there. There is no curiosity, because we receive hundreds of CVs. So if you have the chance to sit in front of the evaluator, so feel yourself like you're already past the interview. It's just for you and for them to understand if it's the right fit for that moment.
And I'm very curious because, having an interview, of course, is not something that you have every day, let's say. So if I'm lucky enough or skilled enough to have an interview with you, so that means that, as you say, I have the technical side right in order to eventually score right at the job. So what is something that I could do, but more in general, in any interview, that a candidate could do to just be sure to excel during the interview with an hiring manager?
Well, there is a few questions that we do at the end, as I was saying, what's the biggest mistake, and then you need to be open freely to discuss. But another question is why you should be the right candidate for us.
It's a tricky one.
Well, that's a tricky one, but it's simple at the same time, because when you ask this question to the people, usually the people try to dazzle because I'm the best, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the top notch level. But at the end, what you want to hear is, I'm not the best candidate. I just want to work with you guys, because after the entire process, I feel like I can learn from you. And if someone says that, well, for sure it's going to stand out. Because, as I say, criticism, accepting criticism, during an interview is going to be a lot of criticism, because you're going to get the feeling of being evaluated. So at the end of probably a few hours of evaluation, if you're still positive to embrace the fact that you say, okay, I know I'm not there because you're better, but I want to work with you because you're the best. And that's really a feeling that from the evaluator point of view can change, the perspective, because a lot of people are very good in what they are doing, but you want to feel the belonging of the people to your project.
So you think that at the end you always go with somebody that you think you can work well with?
Absolutely. So the most important thing is the feeling that we have, because it's not just me evaluating, is the feeling that we have that this person can collaborate in a team and is aligned with the vision of what you have in for the future. Because we cannot talk about mid-term, long-term. Commitment has no expiration date. Commitment is commitment. It's like a relationship. So you get commitment. You cannot put expiration date on a relationship. You cannot put expiration date on a commitment.
Of course.
So when you see the people are committed because they want to embrace your project, that's the key.
I mean, talking about commitment, you had a nice, let's say, path that eventually brought you here as a senior manager for a very big organization. How you managed to always be on the edge of technology, of all those trends, and always be with all those new, information, so that you could always be ready for the next challenge? How you kept being always on edge, let's say?
It's very, very hard. It's almost impossible task. As I say before, you don't have to go too deep into things. You need to learn from the top, because in my position, for example, I need to see a lot of technologies, not just one team. So that's very hard. But working with the best, because all the people that I work, I feel that they are the best. You always work with them as much as you can to capture, all the little shadows in the technology, and try to learn also, sometimes on your own, maybe during the weekends, keeping up with the technology, with the video, with the newsletters and so on. You try to match all the dots, to connect all the dots. It's very hard from a manager point of view. It's a little easier if you are a technical person, because you stay on top of the technology. But the fact is, always talk with people. If you don't talk with people and you stick only with the technology, you're not going to understand fully what you're doing.
Yes, I see that. However, I'm not convinced about the point you say that you should be very broad. I mean, if you're starting out in the industry, shouldn't you focus maybe and get a deeper understanding of, let's say, those few technology in order to perform well during the interview, instead of just being broad, because you're gonna be asked. I mean, let's just have a very practical example. If I know a bit of Java, Python, C, C++, and another language, and the job description ask you for a very deep knowledge of Python, you won't be able to very really Python proficient, because you know just a bit of everything. Don't you think that you should, at least at the beginning, be a bit more expert on that one thing, and then eventually be a bit more broader on other thing, or not?
Well, there are a few, things that we need to, dive deeper into this, topic, because the job profiles that we see on the web most of the times are there for a reason. And it's not just to point out what are the technology that you should master, but it's also to put some obstacles. You will see many persons that they apply to jobs that they require 10 years of experience, and these guys, they have only 3. So these guys, they should be rejected because they don't have the 10 years?
I don't know.
Probably not. Why? Because you need to put ambition. So sometimes you master the topic, as you say. Sometimes you don't master the topic. I've been working for over a decade with Python, and I don't consider myself a master in Python. So where is the edge? Where is the limit? So there is no limit. Why did I say you need to be curious and explore these things? Because probably there is no real measurement of this. So the fact that you are able to learn and explore new technologies is more important than the individual skill. Of course, for more senior roles is more critical than the junior roles, because the more senior roles, they probably have already a task and a trajectory assigned. Then you need to be responsible for some systems. So we expect you a certain level of competencies in certain fields. But for a very junior role, I wouldn't say you need to be shallow on the topics, but you need to have an understanding how to master it a little bit, but be able also to switch. That's more important than the single task itself.
Okay, so if you were a junior indeed, and you had to start tomorrow your journey from scratch, how would you do it?
Well, I wouldn't change a dime of what I've been doing because I've been working before I graduated.
Okay.
So that was the most important thing that I've done, because if I was waiting to graduate and I follow, let's say, the conventional path, probably I would be still chasing my way. And like this, I started before. I started to build my curiosity before I finish. And that made it even easier to finish the university because I had already a plan in my mind of what I wanted to do. And that led me to a job before I graduated, which I was lucky, of course. So that helped me a lot. What I would change, honestly, probably I would change the topic of my graduation because I graduated in physical oceanography.
Yeah.
But probably I would go for engineering, looking the entire trajectory of my career. But, you know, what we are is not defined by the university that we did. You know, in my team, I have people with a very diverse background. And this is probably the key of the success. So we have people with degrees in geology, people with degrees in data science, people with degrees in chemistry, statistics. I'm a physical oceanographer. So diversity is a key. And I think, you know, every journey is a good journey. Just don't follow the others. Make your own.
Yeah, these are quotes that I like. It goes like, you cannot connect the dots looking forward, but only looking backwards, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about it?
Well, I'm still not able to connect all the dots because I think you finish the book the moment you know you finish the book. And this moment I'm still writing the book of my life. So, but I think there are a lot of things that I should improve looking those dots because, you know, you try to build a trajectory, but the trajectory is not a linear curve. So it's going to be a lot of hurdles, obstacles. So there are a lot of things that I still need to achieve, but I don't know where I'm going. And this is the fascinating part of that, because in a decade, maybe we should be sitting here and discussing maybe a different technology or maybe a different field.
Hopefully so. So thank you very much, Matteo. So I want to finish now with the last question, which is not the last question, but is what is the most underrated skill for the future, you think?
The most underrated skill, which is probably built in our human DNA, is the creativity. Be creative. Think different, because at this moment it's easy to follow the technology, but being creative and finding innovative solution to the problems, this is going to be the key skill for the future that we will be looking for, because machines are improving, technologies are improving, so repetitive tasks will be taken probably, as we discussed before, by the machines, but our creativity and our capacity to go beyond the knowledge base is what makes us different.
Beautiful creativity then. Okay, Matteo, thank you very much. And so for people that want to connect with you and just be updated with whatever you're doing, how can they be in touch with you?
Well, I have a pretty solid life in the social media, so I'm obviously I'm on Instagram, if you can see my face over there, but mainly you can reach me on LinkedIn. There is my page with Matteo Zangani. It's not many Matteo Zangani on LinkedIn, so I think you can find me with the data science tag.
Okay, thank you very much, Matteo.
Thank you very much.
See you soon then.
Bye.